to himself. He would give them what they wanted. He peered cautiously around. In front of him were the upright slabs that formed the grave circle, enclosed by the massive ruined walls of the citadel that rose behind him in the cleft between the mountains. Walls built not by men, but by cyclopes, one-eyed monsters the men of Mycenae had yoked like slaves to create their rock-girt fortress. He half believed the myth himself, marvelling at the colossal size of the stones that lay where they had been placed more than 3,000 years before. Yet it was not gods and giants he sought, but the deeds of men, real men, flesh and blood. What men could do, how high they could rise, how far they could fall. And the men he sought were not the heroes of myth. They were the shapers of history.
"Heinrich, you must come at once!"
Sophia's voice came from the darkness below. Schliemann turned and stared into the excavation trench, his heart pounding. Could this be it? They had found treasure already, unimaginable quantities of it, revealed to gasping onlookers over the weeks of the excavation. Gold diadems, jewellery, weapons, a golden goblet he had loudly proclaimed to be the cup of Nestor, the very cup Homer said had been brought before the Greeks on the plain of Troy. But it was not treasure they were looking for now. They were looking for the deed of a king, what a king had hidden. He peered again and saw only a faint golden glow at the base of the ladder where Sophia was working at the bottom of the rock-cut shaft. He tried to control his excitement.
"Keep your voice down," he whispered sharply in German, "and keep anything you've found concealed. I need to be sure we're alone."
His eyes swept from right to left. For a second he thought he saw a shadowy form, then it was gone, a trick of the moonlight. He saw the rocky path they had come up 3 hours before, through the gateway with its triangular capstone carved in the shape of 2 lions holding a pillar. The Lion Gate of Mycenae, wall-girt fortress of Agamemnon, lord of men, wide ruling one, noble son of Atreus. The lions were decapitated now, but still exerted extraordinary power, and seeing them for the first time had strengthened his resolve that this place was more than just the stage set of myth. He turned away from the gate and gazed out as the great king once had from his mountain fastness over the plain toward the sea, to the place where he had set forth for Troy. Troy. Schliemann still shuddered at the name. They had been there, just like this, 3 years before, he and Sophia. They had found the treasure of King Priam, and they had found more than he could possibly have dreamed of, more than the world yet knew. He saw the twinkling lights of their camp on the edge of the plain. He looked for flitting shadows in the gloom, for lights moving on the rocky path, but there was nothing. The Greek inspector would still be sleeping off the drink. The Greek authorities had heard rumours from Troy and mistrusted Schliemann. There were some who thought he and Sophia were little more than tomb robbers. Yet the Greeks were covetous enough of their place in history to want a part in the drama, to give him permission to excavate, and he was grateful to them. If the academics of the world had had their way, he would never have been allowed here. They had derided him for having more money than sense, for being self-taught, too used to getting his own way, too used to certainty. They thought he was absurd, a fantasist, but they were wrong. He had not come in search of myth. He had come in search of truth. He had come in search of the real heroes. He turned back to the trench and took a deep breath. The air had been cleansed by the rain, but the smells were rising again. Rosemary, thyme, the sweet ether that seemed to float above these ancient sites, an exhalation from history too powerful to be washed away by a transient act of nature. He smelled the earth, the richness of it, the soil that had buried this place for millennia. He glanced up. The moonlit clouds were moving with speed, and for a second he fancied he saw the ghostly galleys of the Greeks heading east, drawn toward their nemesis at Troy. He swung his leg over the ladder, and moments later was at the bottom of the trench, encased in the smooth square walls where the tomb chamber had been hacked out of the rock. The lamp glowed in one corner. Sophia was there, raven-haired, bedecked in jewellery copied from their finds at Troy, streaked in grime like him. She was his Mycenaean queen, hunched over the grave, as if she were preparing to join the dead king in the afterlife.
"Heinrich?"
she whispered, pointing. He stared at the ground. He stopped breathing. He felt his knees buckle under him, and he fell forward. It was not lamplight he had seen from the surface. It was gold, a mask of gold.